Hi, guys, and welcome back to James and the Giant Peach. When we ended yesterday, the cloud men were throwing those balls at them, and it turned out to be hailstones. And so they were getting hail thrown at the peach. They all had to go down into the tunnel to hide. And then finally, at the end, James popped his head back up and said, "Hey, I don't see anything. I think they're gone. I think we're good to go." Right? So now here we are, chapter 28. One by one, the other travelers came out again onto the top of the peach and gazed carefully around. The moon was still shining as brightly as ever, and there were still plenty of huge, shimmering cloud mountains on all sides, but no cloud men in sight now. "The peach is leaking!" shouted the old green grasshopper, peering over the side. "It's full of holes, and juice is dripping everywhere." "Oh, that does it!" cried the earthworm. "If the peach is leaking, then we shall surely sink." "Don't be dumb," cried the centipede. "We're not in the water now." "Oh, look!" shouted the ladybug. "Look, look, look, over there!" Everyone swung around to look. In the distance, and directly ahead of them, they now saw a most extraordinary sight. It was kind of an arch, a colossal, curvy-shaped thing that reached high up into the sky and came down again at both ends, kind of like a rainbow. That's an arch. The ends were resting on a huge flat cloud that was as big as a desert. "What in the world is that?" said James. "It's a bridge. It's an enormous hoop cut in half. It's a horseshoe standing upside down." "Hmm. Stop me if I'm wrong," said the centipede, with his face turning white. "But are those cloud men climbing all over it?" There was a dreadful silence. The peach floated closer and closer. "Those are cloud men! There are hundreds of them. No, thousands. I think millions." "I don't want to hear about it," shrieked the poor blind earthworm. "I'd rather be on the end of a fish hook and used as bait than come up against those terrible creatures again." "I'd rather be fried alive and eaten," wailed the old green grasshopper. "Please keep quiet," whispered James. "It's our only hope." They crouched very still on top of the peach, staring at the cloud men. The whole surface of the cloud was literally swarming with cloud men, and there were hundreds more up above, climbing on that monstrous, crazy arch. "But what is that thing?" whispered the ladybug. "And what are they doing to it?" "I don't care what they're doing to it," the centipede said, scuttling over to the tunnel's entrance. "I'm not staying up here. Goodbye." But the rest of them were too frightened or too hypnotized by the whole affair to make a move. "Do you know what?" James whispered. "What?" they said. "What?" "That enormous arch. They seem to be painting it. They've got pots of paint and big brushes. Look!" And he was quite right. The travelers were close enough now to see that this is exactly what the cloud men were doing. They had huge brushes in their hands, and they were splashing the paint onto the great curvy arch in a frenzied speed, so fast, in fact, that in a few minutes the whole arch became covered with the most glorious colors: reds, blues, greens, yellows, and purples. Guess what it was? "It's a rainbow!" everyone said at once. "They're making a rainbow!" Wow, when I said it was a big arch like a rainbow, I was pretty smart. "Just look at those colors." "Centipede!" they shouted. "You must come up and see this." They were so enthralled by the beauty and brilliance of the rainbow that they forgot to keep their voices quiet any longer. The centipede poked his head cautiously out of the tunnel entrance. "Well, well, well," he said. "I've always wondered how those things were made. But why all the ropes? What are they doing with all those ropes?" "Good heavens, They're pushing the rainbow off the cloud. There it goes. They're lowering it down to the earth with the ropes. And I'll tell you something else, the centipede said sharply. If I'm not greatly mistaken, we ourselves are going to bump right into the rainbow. Bless my soul, he's right, the old green grasshopper exclaimed. The rainbow was now dangling in the air below the cloud. The peach was also just below the level of the cloud, and it was heading directly toward the rainbow, traveling rather fast. Oh, we are lost, Miss Spider cried, wringing her feet together. Our end has come. I can't stand it, wailed the earthworm. Tell me what's happening. We're going to miss it, shouted the ladybug. No, we're not. Yes, we are. Yes, yes, no. Oh, my heavens. Hold on, everybody, James called out. And suddenly there was a tremendous thud as the peach went crashing into the top part of the rainbow. This was followed by an awful splintering noise as the enormous rainbow snapped right across the middle and became two separate pieces. I wonder what will happen now. The next thing that happened was extremely unfortunate. The ropes that the cloudmen had been using for lowering the rainbow got all tangled up with the silk strings that went up from the peach to the seagulls. The peach was trapped. Panic and pandemonium broke out among the travelers, and James Henry Trotter, glancing up quickly, saw the faces of 1,000 furious cloudmen peering down at him over the edge of the cloud. The faces had almost no shape at all because of the long white hairs that covered them. There were no noses, no mouths, no ears, no chins. Only the eyes were visible in each face. Two small black eyes glinting malevolently, it's a hard word, through the hairs. Malevolently means like angrily. Then came the most frightening thing of all. The one cloud man, a huge hairy creature who must have been at least 14 feet tall, suddenly stood up and made a tremendous leap off the side of the cloud, trying to get one of the silk strings above the peach. James and his friends saw him go flying through the air above them, his arms outstretched in front of him, reaching for the nearest string. And they saw him grab it and hang onto it with his hands and his legs. And then, very, very slowly, hand over hand, he began to come down the string. Now, if you're thinking of this picture correctly, this is the string that's connected from the peach up to one of the birds. And he's on the string and he's coming down the string closer to the peach. Oh, mercy, help us, save us, cried the ladybug. Oh, he's coming down to eat us, wailed the old green grasshopper. Everybody jump overboard. Eat the earthworm first, said the centipede. It's no good eating me, I'm full of bones. Centipede, shouted James. Quickly, bite through that string, the one that he's coming down on. Good idea, James. The centipede rushed over to the stem of the peach and took that silk string in his teeth and bit through it with one snap of his jaws. Immediately, far above them, a single seagull was seen to come away from the rest of the flock and go flying off with a long string trailing from his neck. And clinging desperately to the end of the string, shouting and yelling with anger, was the huge, hairy cloud man. Up and up he went, swinging across the moonlit sky. And James Henry Trotter, watching him with delight, said, My goodness, he must weigh almost nothing at all. For one seagull to be able to pull him up like that, he must be all hair and air. Here's the picture. The rest of the cloud men were so flabbergasted at seeing one of their company carried away in this manner that they let go of the ropes they were holding. And then, of course, down went the rainbow, both halves of it together, tumbling toward the earth below. This freed the peach, which at once began sailing away from the terrible cloud. But the travelers were not in the clear yet. The infuriated cloudmen jumped up and ran after them along the cloud, throwing all kinds of hard, horrible objects at them. Empty paint buckets, paintbrushes, step ladders, stools, saucepans, frying pans, rotten eggs, dead rats, bottles of hair oil, really anything that they could get their hands on came raining down upon the beach. One cloud man, taking very careful aim, tipped a gallon of thick purple paint over the edge of the cloud right onto the centipede himself. The centipede screamed with anger. My legs, he cried. They're all sticking together. I can't walk, and my eyelids won't open. I can't see. And my boots are ruined. But for the moment, everyone was too busy dodging all the things that the cloud men were throwing to pay any attention to the centipede. The paint is drying, he moaned. It's going hard. I can't move my legs. I can't move anything. You can still move your mouth, the earthworm said, and that is a great pity. James, bawled the centipede, please help me. Wash off this paint. Scrape it off. Anything. And that's the end of chapter 28. And that's where we'll stop for today. See you tomorrow.